This is a demonstration on how to use Audacity to record audio files which can then be cut onto CD. So the first thing I'm going to do is test my microphone. So I'll click on record, I'll say a few words and hopefully we'll get something there. So I stop that, and yes we do, we can see a line on the graph, looks reasonably clear. Press play, see what it sounds like. I'll say a few words and hopefully we'll get something there. So I stop that. That's fine. So I'll edit that and undo the recording. So I'm ready to start again. You'll have your script ready, you'll have practiced a few times so you can read it reasonably fluently. For the purposes of this demonstration I'm just going to say a few things at random, so I don't need a script. I'll begin with the recording. I've left 5 seconds of dead air at the beginning of the recording. That's simply to pick up the background noise, which we're going to edit out later. Normally I'd talk and read my speech, and obviously I'm going to make mistakes. Things get in the way, I'll hiccup, I'll sneeze or whatever. If something like that happens, what I need to do is make a sound on the recording to highlight the problem, like a quick snap of the fingers. I wait, and then continue to talk. And what I'll do later is highlight that piece that's wrong and we'll cut it out. But I think I've got enough recording now of my voice what will do for the sake of this demonstration. So I'll stop the recording. As you can see, there's a timeline that says I've recorded something like 52 seconds worth of speech. There's where I click my fingers. I just press play from there. There you go, you can hear that. And right at the beginning, if I just click from there and press play, there's a bit of rumble in the background. As you can see, it's sort of a small bit of the wiggly line. So we're going to get rid of that first. And the way that we do that is to use noise reduction, which is one of the effects. So I click and drag over the piece that I want to get rid of. So I've highlighted that by simply clicking and dragging. Click on Effect, choose Noise Removal. And it asks for a noise profile, so you click on that bit there. What it does is it takes the highlighted piece and analyzes it. So that's the piece of noise that's going to be removed throughout the rest of the recording. So it's got the profile. Click on the end bar there to highlight the entire track. Effect, noise removal again, and this time just simply click on OK. And as you can see, the wiggly line there has now been completely smoothed out. So if we just press play again, it's totally silent, and that's gone throughout the track. Now what we want to do is get rid of the mistake. So there's the spike. It's nice and clear that it stands out and you can see it from the rest of the track. If we press play from there, the problem, like a quick snap of the fingers, I wait, and then continue to talk. And okay, so that's the piece I know that I've got to get rid of. So I'll move my cursor to the end of the good piece, which is around there. I click, drag through the error, drag through the bit of silence at the back until I'm at the beginning of the next good piece. Then I simply click on the cut button and it's cut that piece out of the track completely. So if I press play from there and then continue to talk, and what I'll do later is highlight that piece that's wrong. Right, that sounds okay, but I think there's an error there, so let's just play that again. Is highlight that piece that's wrong. Right, that doesn't sound too good. It's highlight. There's a bump in the background there, possibly the way I've said something, so let's just highlight. Right, let's zoom in on that. There, and we can see that little bit. If I just highlight that and play, that's a breath that's gone into the microphone. I can't cut that because it will sound odd in the track, but what I can do is silence it. So I click on the silence audio on the bit that I've highlighted. There, it's gone. Press play from there to there, and hopefully, well, let's just try from there. Yeah, okay, so that's got rid of it. So we've cut out an error with smoothed a bump in the track. Let's just, using the zoom bit, shrink it back down. So there we are, that's my track, that's my 45 seconds of speech. What I now need to do is to put in some background music. And what we do with that is we import a music track. So we import audio, and here's one we prepared earlier. It's called 15 minutes of background music, and it's an MP3 file. So click on that and open it, and the system imports it into Audacity, which takes a few seconds, and creates a second track. And because it's 15 minutes as opposed to my less than 1 minute, the timeline's sort of shortened over there. This is the music here, and there's my speech there. So obviously we don't need all that, so I highlight it and cut it away. I click on zoom just to stretch things so I can see what I'm doing, and again we've got far too much there, so we'll just simply click on the right track, drag that, cut off the end. Now as you can see from the size of the spikes on this, the music's going to be louder than my voice, so let's just play it and see what happens. I've left 5 seconds of dead air at the beginning of the recording. That's simply to pick up the back. There you see, it's much too loud. So what I do there is highlight that track by clicking the bar on the left, Effect, and Amplify. Even though we want to make it quieter, it's Amplify. And it's a matter of dragging this little slider here to the left to the minus numbers. And it's very much a matter of trial and error as to where to go. So we'll try around 16, click on OK, and there you see the size of the graph has gone down quite dramatically. Click play from the start. I've left 5 seconds of dead air at the beginning of the recording. That's simply to pick up the background noise, which we're going to edit out later. Normally I'd talk and read my speech, and obviously I think that's okay. It's a matter of trial and error, as I said, and personal preference to get it to the right sort of background level where it isn't too intrusive or too quiet. It begins fairly smoothly, it fades in, so if we sort of click on play and you listen again, that's okay. If we click from the end, so I'll stop the recording, it ends abruptly, so we need to fade out. We'll not bother fading in with this one, but we'll fade it out. So let's just zoom in and stretch that a little bit so we can see what we're playing with. As you see, it ends abruptly, and it probably goes on for a few seconds too long. So again, I'm going to cut off just the last couple of seconds, zoom in again, press play from there, recording. Right, and what we need to do now is just simply fade it out. So we click and highlight to the end, take the effect, and fade out. And as you can see, what fade out does is simply just mute the volume gradually to the end. So press play again, and the track fades. Now I left 5 seconds at the beginning, so my voice doesn't start until the music's sort of well in. Let's just shrink that so we can see where we are. If the music starts in the wrong place and you'd rather delay things with your speech or bring it forward a little bit, you can align the track. And what we can do with this case is, if we sort of click about there, track, align track, and it's come off the demonstration side. So what I'll do with that one is just drag that to one side. Tracks, align track, start with the cursor, bring that back into view so you can see it again. As you can see, my voice track now shifted a couple of seconds to the right, which means it ends fairly close to the music. So we'll just click on there and play. I'll stop the recording, and that's too abrupt. So I'm going to undo that because I think it's in the wrong place. But I've now got a track that I'm happy with. If we press play from start, the music comes up. I've left 5 seconds of dead air at the beginning of the recording. That's simply to pick up the back and I begin to speak. I'm now happy with that track. What I now need to do is save it. So it's File, Save Project. By saving this as a project, it means you can go back and edit it. So if you're going to take a while over this, it's probably wise to save it every so often, in the same way as you'd save a long document that you were writing, just in case something happens. I'm going to call it test and save. So that can now be opened again in Audacity whenever I want, and I can edit the thing as I need. I'm happy with it. I want to save it now as a file, as an MP3 file. In that case, it's File and Export. Export, save as type, MP3 file. Still want to call it test. Still in the completed projects folder, so I click on Save. What the system now wants me to do is put in what it calls the metadata, the description of the track, sort of artist name, track name, etc. So it's Dave. It's not 15 minutes of background music, so let's just again call it test for the sake of argument. We don't need a track title, album title this time. And again, the comments you can put in sort of Dave's test, and OK. And that's it. It's now saved as an MP3 file, which will then cut to CD, but that'll be in the next demonstration.